Right, everybody, we're talking to Ray from Sacred Warrior and also Worldview. Welcome back to Friday the 13th, Ray. How are you?
Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm
Right,
doing good. I'm doing
good.
good.
So I'm going to ask you some warm-up questions first from the previous interview we did. What's
Okay.
happening now with Sacred Warrior since we last spoke? Are you new album? What's happening with you guys?
Yeah, so we're not really recording a record yet. We've been trying to write some stuff and just lots of struggles doing it right now because I'm so busy with all the other stuff too. But we are intending on doing an EP. So hopefully the EP will come by this year possibly, It's just been a real struggle. I've had to finish other things, but we are doing a lot of shows.
Good.
We had a Europe tour set up that I had to cancel. We was set up for March, but I had to cancel it because some health issues I've been having. But we'll be back again. We've already got it invited to Mexico and Costa Rica, and all the promoters for Europe, Germany, and the Netherlands said they'll bring us back.
That's
So I'm
great.
looking forward to that. Yeah, yeah.
So you've got an EP coming out. Why is it just an EP? Why not an album?
I'll be honest with you because it takes us forever to write songs.
Why? Why? Are you lazy?
I
What is it? Too many
no no,
projects?
it's not lazy, man. I'm gonna put first. I'm gonna put my spin on it. For
Yeah.
me, I'm in this zone right now where I'm really struggling with my creativity wise as far as Sacred Warrior goes
Yeah.
because we're still trying to write more of the 80s style still, the warrior style,
Yeah.
and trying to add a little bit of modernness to it, but it's not working right. I can't get it in my head. Whereas with Worldview, George writes a lot of this stuff and he says, here's what I got, and then we just dive into that and then it's there, you know what I'm saying? It's just completely different. It's really hard. It's really hard.
So, I mean, going back to like the Sacred Warrior, what style is the new EP going to be, and what album would you say it's close to that you've done previously?
Um, it's going to be still in the same prog metal style, progressive metal. And
Right.
I would say if I had to pick an album that it was close to, oh, there's George. An album that it was close to would be probably maybe something like Wicked Generation style,
Right. Good
you
album.
know? Yeah. George is laying
Hey,
down on
George,
the
you're upside
job.
down, my friend.
There
Hey,
he
Um,
is.
hey, George, how are you? Welcome to Friday the 13th, my friend.
Thank you. Sorry I was late, but yeah, I had all kinds of stuff to do.
Yeah, we're just talking to Ray about the Sacred Warrior Days. So you've got five songs coming out. What's the song titles, Ray?
One of them, the only one I can tell you right now is probably Unstoppable Kingdom. That's going to
Okay.
be like the main song out of that. I'll give you that for now.
Right. Okay. So, George, welcome to Friday the 13th. This is the first time I've spoke to you. I love this. I love the Recon album that you did, Beyond Enemy Lines. That kicks ass, man.
Yeah, thanks. That was 1990.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to ask you some very brief warm-up questions first, George. As a guitarist, who's inspired you? Who's your influences as a guitar player?
Well, that's a pretty vast question because it's kind of changed through the years. But early on, I really I've always liked Pink Floyd. When I was young, I was learning some of those songs when I was one of the first songs I've learned, like Dark Side of the Moon type stuff. So I would say David Gilmour's always been, even to this day, one of my favorite guitar players. Um, then I went through my whole. Well, I would also add in there like Jeff Beck, early on now, and like even Carlos Santana. I used to play a lot of that kind of stuff. That was kind of like my beginning journey in guitar. I started learning all those riffs. Now, evolving into like the '80s and the '90s, I started liking some of the Flash guys, Ingve and all those guys. And but to be honest with you, at this point, I've outgrown all those guys. They kind of almost bore me now. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Ingve. He's a pretty killer guitar player, but once you've heard one sweep, you've heard them all. So but through the years, I've stuck with having like David Gilmour still be one of my favorite guitar players because he's such a field player. I mean, a lot of times, even in the Deliverance days, I was just playing fast just for the sake of playing fast. Now these days, I kind of like play more with feel, and I try to keep it that way. Have my leads say something as opposed to just, "Wow, look how fast he's going," that type of thing. So, but I
And
went through
Joe,
my phase of liking fast guys like that.
Right.
The Petrucci's and all that. I mean, they're great players. Don't get me wrong. I don't take anything away from them, but I just my mind isn't there anymore. I mean, it's kind of a phase I went through, shall we say?
Okay.
Hey, and let's not forget one of your biggest idols, George, Bruce Swift. I know that's, one of your top dogs too.
Yeah, sure. I'd say so.
Or is it Larry Worley?
They're both great players and great guys.
Yeah.
So don't draw me in to say anything bad about them because I
No,
won't.
no,
So I'm going to ask
no.
you guys a question now. What was your very first bands between you? And is there anything on YouTube that we can hear if anybody wants to check out?
Very first bands for of us together or separate?
Separate.
Oh, geez. I guess mine would have been Nomad, a band called Nomad, which ironically is the guys from Sacred Warrior minus the bass player. But I don't think there's any videos or anything out there that we could find. Or
All right. Okay.
yeah,
George?
It's funny. I started playing on a bunch of bands. I think Keith Urban had the country guy had his band. His first band was called Detour. We had a band called Detour too, but it was not the same band. And we were just kind of learning Thin Lizzy covers and Scorpions and UFO and all that old school metal, Judas Priest, all that old school metal stuff. But I'd say my first original project for sure was Prophet, which was my first Christian metal band, which is whatever that means, by the way. We'll talk about that if you want in a second, what that term means, because, it's just whatever. It's a little silly to me. But anyways, the first project I did after becoming a Christian was called Prophet. And that was, believe it or not, with Roger Martinez. That was in Vengeance. And he was a guitar player. I was a guitar player. Then we had the bass player that ended up going with me to Recon. And so that band, we recorded a demo, and I know I have a demo around here somewhere. I should dig it out somewhere. And
It's not the band that did the album Cycles on the Moon, then. It's not the same Prophet.
No.
Right.
We never recorded an album. We definitely we had a demo, and it was a pretty cool demo. It was recorded in a nice studio and everything like that. And there's even the song that, believe it or not, Oz Fox came down and kind of helped us mix one of the songs way back in the day. We're talking like 84, 85, something like that, 84, way back then. But let me see. If I find it one day, I'll post it. I'll put it on
Please.
YouTube or something.
You want
yeah,
it?
and then just let Jason know about it.
Yeah.
I'd just love to hear some of the stuff that you guys did prior to Sacred Warrior or Recon. So, George, very quickly, I'm going to ask you your time with Deliverance. I saw Deliverance 2 years ago at Headbangers Open Air in Germany. Unfortunately, the bass player got sick. He had to be rushed to hospital straight after the show. What's your favourite Recon Deliverance album that you did? Any favourite?
Well, I only did two, and the one was obviously the iconic kind of at this point has become an iconic record is "Weapons of Our Warfare."
Yeah, great.
So, and then we did "What a Joke," which "What a Joke" there's a whole story behind that. That's not the record that Jimmy and I really wanted to put out, but the company said they needed a record, so I almost want to say these words, but it pains me to say them. But we kind of threw that record together just for the sake of satisfying the record company, because Jimmy and I had a much bigger vision for the album to follow Weapons, but we never got to do it. I mean, after not long after "What a Joke," I mean, I was no longer in Deliverance. So, to answer your question, it'd probably be Weapons is my favorite.
I mean, to me, when I listen to "What a Joke," it kind of reminds me of Anthrax, SOD.
That's funny you said that, because that was kind of the vibe we went for. Those short songs that SOD did on that record. And we kind of did. It's all meant to be kind of funny and tongue in cheek type of thing. So that's what we did with that record.
I remember
we wrote songs right on the cuff and okay, hit record. They're a song. It was like 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. So why did you leave Deliverance before we talk about New World?
You mean Worldview?
Yeah, Worldview. Cut.
Is that an England thing or what?
Yeah. So why did you leave Deliverance then? What was the reason, George, for you quitting?
Well, that was without getting into the drama or he said she said type of thing. It was kind of just time, I guess, at the time. I mean, it was just I learned a big lesson through that, because I was kind of I don't want to say overbearing, but with the record company, I was always on their behind to push us more into the secular market, and they just would always fight me on it. And I'd give them ideas, I'd give them this and that, and I think at one point they even told Jimmy, tell George to stop coming in here because I'd go in there and try to have marketing meetings with the marketing team, and they just I guess they were content just keeping the record, within their own little realm that they had, and not really going beyond it. Because I tell you, we started going beyond and started becoming mainstream through that Weapons of Our Warfare video that got on Headbangers Ball, and it got on pretty good regular rotation. I mean, it got played a lot on Headbangers Ball, so there was definitely people that were interested in the band. So I don't think the record company was quite, and they've gone out of business since then, by the way. So they should have listened to me.
Yeah, because both you guys were on the same label, Intense.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
and so it was kind of like, I think the record company kind of had Jimmy's ear a little bit, said, get rid of this guy and this and that. And
okay, then. So we're going to talk now roughly about Worldview. But last time I spoke to you, Ray, you said that the album was going to be the second Recon album, if I remember rightly. You saying to me a few years ago when we did the last interview. Something to do with Worldview. The first album was going to be Recon's second album. Is that right?
No. What it was the guys from Recon, Todd and Johnny. It was the band and George. We created Worldview. George and I got together and created Worldview because of Rick Macias. You remember Rick Macias, who was our keyboard player in Sacred Warrior?
Yeah.
He went to stay with George in California for a little while. After he left Warrior, he was having some issues. And he had spoken with George about him and myself and Rick doing a record and kind of changing it up. And then shortly after that, Rick came to visit me here in Florida, and he ended up passing away here. And then I remember it clearly. Every time we talk about it, I say this. I was in the drive up at Dunkin' Donuts getting a cup of coffee, and my phone rings, and it's George, and he's like, "Hey, bro, now that Rick has passed away, what do you think about we go ahead and do this record that he wanted to do, and just do it in his honor?" I don't know what happened to George.
Yeah, disappeared.
But so that's what we did. We got together, and I flew out to Nashville. Actually, I flew out to L.A., and he had a whole bunch of songs already, and we just started writing and co-writing and working on stuff and rearranging stuff. And then before you know it, we were recording, and we ended up with the first Worldview record, of which a lot of those songs were originally going to be on the next Recon record that never happened.
I remember you telling me. That's what I remember me telling you, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the songs, correct. Not that we were going to be the next Recon, but there was a lot of those songs that were going to be on that record, which ended up on Worldview, the first Worldview.
I actually think you made the right choice to put them on the Worldview. And the reason I say that, and this is no disrespect to George or anybody else, I think the first Recon album was amazing. And if you'd used those songs in Recon, I think a lot of fans would have been disappointed, considering the Behind the Enemy Lines was such a strong album. Then that's no disrespect. Right. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, totally.
So for you to put them songs into Worldview was definitely the right decision.
Right. And it's unfortunate because it seems like we didn't get a lot of push with that record. I think that record was a great record, but we didn't get a lot of push from the labels. We didn't get a lot of push from it just seems like it was the great album that wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Even to this day now, when people see us live, they're like, "Oh, you guys got any other music?" We're like, "Yeah, we got another record." And they're like, "Well, why haven't I heard of you guys before?" And we're like, "Yeah, why haven't you?" So it's kind of a strange thing there. We just not sure. Maybe it was a timing thing or what. But I know that this record here, Invincible, is getting way more movement than the first one did.
So the first album, was that released on your own label? Or was it put through a label?
That's a long story.
Yeah, go ahead, George. Take it over.
We were actually on...
but keep it short.
Alterium, right? You've heard of Alterium, right?
No.
Alterium Records is out of Sweden.
No, I don't know.
Well, anyway, we were on that label, and for the first record, and as it turned out, I'll tell the short story. Okay, Ray, I won't take long. He was listening to he really liked my history and Ray's history, so I said, yeah, I'm on. Let me go ahead and sign you guys, and we did that, and then he really wanted to manage or control, shall we say, the music on their album, and he wanted us to really be a classic metal, and just be like, with a lot of like hammer-ons and dives and screaming and just be classic metal. And I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to have some classic metal feel, influence in there, but at the same time, have it be as modern as possible. So I think the first record's got some modern elements to it, because purposely I wanted to do that. I wanted to sound like a rehash. So we had a difference of opinion that way. So he ended up still printing the records and everything like that and distributing them in Europe, but we just changed the name to M24 Music Group, which is something that I came up that I had like a little production company. So yeah, in a sense, we did self-release, but it was not totally because it was in cooperation with Alterium Records. They just didn't want their name on it because a lot of their artists are like very classic metal, and we would have been like, here, I'll give you a quick example. There's a couple places in the album that there's a rap part in one of the songs that's kind of like more like Linkin Park type of thing, more like a rap like that. So it's not like stupid rap. And then there's a low grunt thing in one of the songs, Illusions of Love, where we have the low stuff. And he didn't like any of that stuff because that's all modern day stuff, more stuff. So we really had a big difference of opinion on that. He wanted Matt Smith to mix the record, which is the guy from Theocracy, and he actually mixed
Yeah.
a couple songs for me. And I gotta be honest with you, I nothing on Matt at all. Again, great guy, great band, great musician, but I just wasn't liking the mixes. I mean, when you're a mixer yourself and you're an engineer and a producer yourself, it's kind of hard. I mean, I don't mind handing over my stuff, being a producer to other people, but they've got to be somebody that's as good as me or better than me. And I didn't like the mixes, so I rejected his guy, and that didn't go over well.
That
So
pissed
we
him
just
off.
ended up releasing it ourselves.
You said like producing that because I know in the past Recon have used Bill Matoya. Sorry, Deliverance have used Bill Matoya before. Did you ever think of going to Bill again?
Well, Bill mastered this last Invincible record. He mastered
Okay,
it.
awesome.
He mixed and mastered our first Worldview record.
Right,
Uh, so yeah, I'm still using Bill.
that's
He
great.
also did Weapons of Our Warfare, Deliverance, and he did a bunch of Tourniquet albums. But other than that, he's done Slayer. He's done all kinds of people.
He's done all the classic metal blade bands, hasn't he? Really?
Yeah, a lot of Metal Blade stuff he did. Yeah, because he and Brian Slagel are really good friends. The president of Metal
Yeah.
Blade. So they throw Bill all kinds of stuff. I think he did Armored Saint recently, Lizzie Borden, all these bands that are making comebacks. Whatever.
So the first album, The Chosen Few. What's your favorite songs between you on that album?
Go ahead, Ray.
I would have to say probably the actual song, The Chosen Few.
Reason why?
There's so many reasons why, but one of the main the message behind it, but the passion behind it, and George's head's probably going to grow a little bit on here, but the solo that he does at the end of it, just the song finishes out lyrically, and then it just continues with that solo, kind of like a Pink Floyd-ish feel that it has to it that I really love. You listen to old Pink Floyd songs, and they just draw you in, right? Well, I felt to me like, of all the songs on that album, that one and The Last Cry were probably the two that just really drew me in. And in fact, when I was tracking the vocals for The Last Cry, I remember looked at George and he had tears in his eyes and I had tears in my eyes, and we're both like, "Wow, this is such an emotional track." And so it would be both of those tracks, I would say, and just because the power behind the message and the power that was literally in the studio with us while we were tracking those songs.
Okay, George.
Oh yeah, hands down, Mortality. I love that song. It's just so it's heavy and it's melodic and it's got a lot of Middle Eastern feel to it, which I love, by the way. Uh, the Phrygian harmonic minor scales, and so I like a lot of that stuff, and I continue to do some of that stuff even on this record. We do that also here.
A
Um,
lot.
yeah. So, uh, in fact, there's a song on the Human Code records I recently did that it's got a lot of the Middle Eastern sounds for it. And I'm telling you, that album really belongs on this Worldview record. But oh well, Michael Drive stole it from me for that record because I really like that Middle Eastern feel, And if you
Which is
listen to
really
that,
the worldview feel,
Yeah, there
yeah,
seems to be a lot of bands doing that these days. That Middle Eastern vibe.
yeah, you know of a band called Myrath?
Yeah, from
Myrath,
Tunisia. I
yeah.
think they're from
Yeah, they're
Tunisia or
great.
something.
Great band. They do a lot of that. Well, they're from there. They're from Tunisia, so
Yeah.
you know. But
But
I'm half Spanish. My mother's from Spain, and don't forget that the Moors took over Spain for a long time. So I could very well have some Arab blood in me that's making me write all that stuff. You know.
so did the first album sell well for you? That was the most important thing. No?
No.
Next question.
Labor of love, my brother.
Did you ever think of releasing it through a different label? Can you do that? Have you got the rights to do that?
Yeah, yeah, we own the rights to that record, so that's a beautiful thing. I actually paid Alterium for them. Yeah, so if you know anybody that will release it, turn us on. We own this record too, this Invincible record. So so
You see,
it's our record.
there's a big stigma with like no disrespect to Christian bands. A lot of labels won't stand Christian bands. Now, in my opinion, I don't care what you sing about. If the music's good, the vocals are good, buy it. Who cares about,
Agree.
There's a lot of black metal bands I don't listen to because, sorry, but the shit. The productions are terrible. The only black metal band I listen to is Venom, the Godfathers. But there's so many great Christian bands up there, like you guys that have been in. There's Mortification, there's what's the other band? Believer. There's so many great bands, but they don't get the recognition because of the faith. And that really kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks for us too, especially.
Well, it draws me into exactly what I almost want to talk about in every interview from now on is a whole issue of what's Christian metal or Christian rock in the first place. Okay, so our view, just to tell you real quick, Jason, that I don't like to be labeled a Christian band because it really, what it does is it tells everybody else going, okay, this is for the Christians, this isn't for you, stay away, which is nonsense, which is silly. Our music is for everybody.
Exactly.
We do tend to have a message in some of our music that's Christian leaning, which, we're not going to be ashamed of that at all. But at the same time, we have some songs on there about breaking up, about just everyday life stuff. I mean, on the new record, Who's to Say is a total breakup song. What else, Ray? Oh, Blindsided, a new single.
Blindsided, yeah.
Yeah, that's a heartbreak song, and so we just want to write music that just reaches everyone, not just quote unquote Christians, and we're not breathing hell fire and brimstone on unbelievers either, because that never gets you anywhere. I mean, we believe in God. God is good. Jesus, we believe He died on the cross for our sins. But that doesn't mean that we have to shove it down people's throats, because you know what? God's got a plan for everyone, and he'll reach you in the way that He wants to reach you. It might be through this music, might be through a pastor, might be through somebody walking down the street. But anyways, to call ourselves a Christian rock band, it's almost like saying I'm a Christian plumber, I'm a Christian,
That's true.
I'm a Christian electrician, I'm a Christian bus driver. I'm not into rap much. I'm really not. There's some that's tolerable, but Kanye West said something very interesting that I always remember. Is I think there's a TV host that asked him, "So are you a Christian artist now?" Because he kind of converted to Christianity.
Right, yeah.
And his response was brilliant in a sense. It was simple but brilliant. He goes, "Are you a Christian artist now, or what? What?" Because he was just a rap guy. He goes, "Man, I'm a Christian everything." So, in other words, if you label yourself a Christian, it's just part of who you are in life, your worldview, your ethics, and all that. It really shouldn't. Again, God reaches everybody on their own level. So again, we don't want to shove that down anybody's throat. That's just where we come from, and I just don't like to be called a Christian rock band because I think it alienates people who aren't necessarily Christians, and we don't want we don't want that.
Agree, yeah. And and I was going to say too that just to add on to that, it's so true. So many times, I think people would be more apt to listen to a Christian band if you don't say, "Hey, this is a Christian band, check them out."
Yeah,
rather just say, "Hey, this is a great band, with great tunes, great time. Check it out, bro. And people are going to listen to it. I can't tell you how many people I have turned on to our stuff that after them listening to it going, are y'all a Christian band? You know, because you didn't tell me that, you know, and that's really what you want. You want them to hear it and they're going to get the message. And it's like George said, you know, we don't fire brimstone and, you know, turn or burn, you know, it's nothing like that. The messages in the songs of themselves bring a message of hope, whether in a relationship or not. They bring a message of Christ, and they just deal with everyday stuff, man. You know, but it's always comes around in a positive, with a positive ending, if you will. And that in and of itself really draws you to the right direction as to where this is, you know, our intention is not with this record, not to say, hey, we're a Christian metal band here, check it out, you know, turn. It's like, you know, I was asked a question before, do you believe that Christians can write music and be entertainers rather than just all ministry minded? And I said, yes, of course you can. You can be an entertainer. It's like George says, you don't come in and say, I'm a Christian plumber, I'm a Christian electrician. You're a plumber, you're an electrician, you're a musician. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't have to put the title Christian behind it because your lifestyle is going to reflect that already. People who hang out with you, they're going to say, there's something different about this guy. That guy, he's a Christian. I can tell. There's something about that guy. Rudy Sarzo. Now, let's not even talk about it. Let's talk about Mike LePond from Symphony X. I had him on my podcast. And when I was talking to him, I could sense there was something about him that he had such a great spirit about him, right? And I asked him, I said, Mike, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, are you a Christian? Because I'm getting that vibe. He said, Ray, he goes, I am a strong, believing, sold out for Jesus believer, and I'm proud of it, man. You know, and he didn't have to tell me that. He's in a secular band. He's in a great band, Symphony X.
Yeah.
But I could tell you can be that guy and be in that band. And I could tell just by his response and just by his demeanor and his spirit. You know, and that's what we want. We want people to just know where we stand just by our demeanor, how we represent ourselves. And obviously, you know, the music's going to bring that around as well.